Today, I want to share something with you that came to me in the most extraordinary way. I was walking past a small shop window, and there in the corner was a little sign that read, "November blessings are waiting." And something inside me just stopped. I stood there on that sidewalk, and I felt this warmth spreading through my whole body. And I absolutely knew, that this message was for you and me right now, in this very moment. You see, November carries a particular kind of magic, a special frequency that most people miss entirely because they're too busy worrying about what they don't have or fretting about the year coming to an end. But what if I told you that right now, today, in this precious month, there are blessings lined up for you that are so magnificent, so perfectly designed for your life, that all you need to do is speak them into existence? What if the very words you're about to learn can command these blessings to rush toward you like a river that's been dammed? Stopped for too long, finally breaking free? I'm not talking about wishing or hoping or crossing your fingers and waiting for luck. I'm talking about something far more powerful, something that lives in the invisible realm where all creation begins. I'm talking about the ancient, eternal law that says your word is your wand, and what you decree with faith and understanding must manifest in your world. And here's what I know to be absolutely true. November is not just another month slipping by. November is your divine appointment. It's the universe leaning in close, waiting for you to speak, waiting for you to claim what's already yours in the spiritual realm. So right now, I want you to take a breath with me, let your shoulders drop, and know that you didn't find this message by accident. You are here because something deep within you is ready to step into a new way of living, ready to command your blessings instead of begging for them, ready to understand that you are not a victim of circumstances, but a creator of your reality. You see, most people spend their whole lives whispering timid prayers into the void, wondering why nothing changes. They ask, they hope, they wish, but they never command. There's a vast difference between the two. When you ask, you position yourself as beneath, as lacking, as someone who must convince the universe that you're worthy. But when you command, you stand as a co-creator, you recognize your divine inheritance. You speak from a place of authority that was given to you the moment you were born. Let me share something with you. I once knew a woman who came to me in tears. She'd been praying for financial relief for years. Every night, she'd get on her knees and beg God to send her money, to help her pay her bills, to rescue her from poverty. And every month, the situation seemed to get worse. Her prayers felt like they were bouncing off the ceiling and falling back down on her head. When I asked her to tell me exactly what she prayed, she said, "I ask God to please help me because I'm so desperate and I don't know what to do." Do you hear it? Every word dripping with lack, with desperation, with powerlessness. She was affirming her poverty with every prayer. So I told her something that shocked her at first. I said, "Stop begging, start commanding. You are a child of the infinite, and your Father's wealth is your wealth. Claim it." She looked at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. Command God? Isn't that disrespectful? But here's what most people don't understand. You're not commanding God. You're commanding the spiritual law that governs this universe. You're activating the divine principles that are always working, always responding, always saying yes to the vibration you send out. God isn't a distant king who might grant you favor if you grovel convincingly enough. God is the very substance of abundance itself, flowing through you, waiting for your recognition, waiting for your word to take form. So this woman, trembling at first, began to change her words. Instead of, "Please help me, I'm desperate," she started declaring, "Infinite abundance flows to me now. Every bill is paid with ease. Money comes to me from expected and unexpected sources." She spoke these words with conviction, even when her bank account said otherwise, even when the bills kept coming. Now, here's what happened next, and pay attention because this is where most people stumble. About a week into her new practice, Linda received a call. A company she'd interviewed with months ago, a position she'd completely forgotten about, was offering her a contract. Not full-time employment, but steady project work. Enough to cover her immediate needs. Most people would stop there. They'd say, "Oh, how nice, a little job showed up." They'd think it was coincidence, or luck, or timing. But Linda understood something crucial. This wasn't the manifestation, this was the bridge. This was the universe responding to her shift in consciousness by creating a pathway. And her job wasn't to cling to this opportunity as her only lifeline, but to keep speaking her word, Keep declaring abundance. Keep affirming that greater good was flowing to her. She took the contract, yes, but she didn't make it her God. She didn't say, "This contract is my salvation." She said, "This is wonderful, and even greater abundance is on its way." Do you see the difference? One closes the door, the other keeps it wide open. Within 2 months, Linda had more work than she could handle. Within 6 months, she had enough saved to create a comfortable cushion. Within a year, she was earning more than she had at the job she'd lost. But here's what really changed: her relationship with money itself. She stopped seeing it as a capricious force that could be snatched away at any moment. She began to understand that supply was infinite, that her word had power, that consciousness creates conditions. The bills that had terrified her, they became simply pieces of paper requiring attention, not weapons pointed at her heart. When one arrived, instead of panic, she'd look at it and say, "The money for this is already provided." And then she'd watch, as the money appeared, sometimes from expected sources, sometimes from places she never could have orchestrated with her limited human planning. This is what I mean when I talk about the power of the spoken word. Your word is your wand. It's the instrument through which invisible substance takes form in your visible world. You've been given dominion over your own life. Not over other people, that's interference, and it always boomerangs back. But over your time's own time's circumstances, your time's own time's health, your time's own time's prosperity. This dominion operates through your word. Now, I want to show you something that might surprise you. The majority of people use this power unconsciously and destructively. They're constantly decreeing limitation, sickness, and failure into their experience. Listen to the average person for 5 minutes. "I can't afford that. I always catch colds in winter. I never get a break. That's just my luck." Every single one of those statements is an affirmation, a decree, a command to the universal supply to manifest exactly that condition. I had a student once who came to me absolutely bewildered. "Florence," she said, "I affirm prosperity every morning, but I'm getting poorer by the day." So I asked her to tell me about her daily life. Within minutes, the truth emerged. Yes, she affirmed prosperity for 10 minutes each morning. But the rest of the day? "I can't afford new shoes. This depression is ruining everyone. My husband will never earn enough." She was spending 2 hours affirming lack for every 2 minutes, she affirmed supply. And she wondered why the negative won out. You see, it's not enough to speak your word once and then spend the rest of your time contradicting it. Your word must become your dwelling place. You must live in it, walk in it, breathe it. When the appearance of lack presents itself, and it will, because the old thought forms are still dissolving, you don't deny its appearance. You simply refuse to give it power through recognition. Someone once asked me, "But Florence, isn't that just pretending? Isn't that being dishonest?" No, my dear. You're not pretending the problem doesn't exist on the physical plane. You're refusing to accept it as your permanent reality. There's a tremendous difference. When Jesus looked at a blind man, he didn't say, "Oh yes, I see you're blind, and that's very real. And we must acknowledge your blindness thoroughly before anything can change." No, he said, "Receive your sight." He spoke to the perfect spiritual reality, not to the temporary appearance. And the blind man saw. You see, your word carries creative power when it aligns with truth. When you say, "I am healed," you're not lying about symptoms. You're declaring the eternal, spiritual reality that supersedes the temporary physical condition. You're calling those things that be not as though they were, as the scripture instructs. This is not denial, this is dominion. I once knew a woman who was told by doctors that her condition was progressive and incurable. She listened politely, thanked them for their professional opinion, and then went home and said, "That's interesting, but God says something different." Every morning, she stood before her mirror and declared, "I am whole, I am perfect as God created me. This body reflects divine order." Did her symptoms vanish overnight? No, but something more important happened first. Her consciousness shifted. She stopped identifying with the illness. She stopped introducing herself to the illness every morning through worry. She withdrew her creative energy from the problem and invested it entirely in the solution. Within months, her doctors were baffled. Within a year, they called it spontaneous remission. She called it natural law finally being allowed to operate without interference. The word you speak over your situation is creating your tomorrow, right now, in this moment. If you say, "I'll never get ahead financially," your subconscious mind, which takes orders, not suggestions, says, "Yes, sir," and goes to work arranging circumstances to prove you right. If you say, "I always attract the wrong people," your inner creative power faithfully manufactures more wrong people for you to meet. You wouldn't plant tomatoes and expect roses. Why do you plant words of lack and expect a harvest of abundance? Your words are the seeds, your life is the garden. You're the gardener holding the packet, deciding what grows in your soil. I've watched people transform their entire existence by changing one habitual phrase. A woman came to me drowning in financial worry. Every morning she'd wake up and say, "I can't afford anything. Money runs through my fingers like water." And it did. No matter how much came in, it vanished. I asked her to change just one statement. Every morning instead, money flows to me easily, and I am a wise steward of abundance. She resisted at first. "But it's not true," she protested. I said, "Neither was your old statement helping you, was it?" Within 3 weeks, an unexpected inheritance arrived. Within 2 months, she received a promotion she hadn't even applied for. The circumstances didn't change because she convinced the universe with her words. They changed because she stopped blocking her own good with statements of lack. This isn't magical thinking. This is spiritual law as reliable as gravity. You cannot receive what you refuse to accept in consciousness. You cannot attract what you're constantly denying. Listen to yourself for just one day. Really listen. Count how many times you speak against your own desires. "I never get what I want. I'm always unlucky. Things never work out for me. I can't seem to get ahead. I'm so tired of struggling." Every single one of those statements is an instruction to your subconscious, an order to the creative power within you. And that power is obedient. It says, "Your word is my command." It doesn't judge your command. It doesn't argue with it. It doesn't say, "Are you sure? That seems difficult." No. It simply takes your word and begins to work with the substance of the invisible to bring forth the thing you've declared. This is why you must become conscious of what you're saying, not just with your mouth, but with your habitual inner voice. The voice that narrates your day, the voice that reacts to circumstances. Because that voice is constantly giving orders. I worked with a woman once who came to me exhausted, drained, barely able to hold herself upright, and she kept saying, "This life is just wearing me out. Everything is such a burden. I'm being worn down to nothing." And I said to her, "My dear, stop giving that order." She looked at me confused. She thought she was just describing her situation. But I explained, "You're not describing it. You're times decreeing times it. Every time you say, 'This is wearing me out,' you command your energy to deplete. You order your body to weaken. You instruct the universe to send you more things that feel like burdens." She was astonished. It had never occurred to her that her words were creating her experience, not reflecting it. So we changed the order. We crafted a new statement. "Infinite energy flows through me now. I am divinely sustained in all my activities. Every task is accomplished with ease and joy." At first, it felt like a lie to her. Her body still felt tired. Her responsibilities still felt heavy. But I told her, "Say it anyway. Say it times, especially times when it feels untrue, because you're not reporting the news. You're making it." Within 2 weeks, something shifted. Her energy returned. Not because her circumstances changed, they didn't. She still had the same job, the same household, the same demands. But times changed. Her inner decree changed, and the creative power, ever obedient, responded to the new command. This is the power you hold, the power of decree, of declaration, of the word made flesh. And here's what most people don't realize. Your time's already times using this power every single day. You're already decreeing, already commanding, already speaking things into form. The question is, what are you decreeing? Are you decreeing lack or abundance? Sickness or health? Struggle or ease? Listen to yourself today. Just listen. Notice what you say when something goes wrong. Notice the story you tell about yourself when you're alone. Notice the declarations you make about what's possible for you, because those aren't casual observations. Those are orders, commands to the universe, instructions to the creative power within you. And that power is always listening, always ready, always saying, "Your word is my command." But here's what most people do. They speak their word once, and then they spend the rest of the day contradicting it. They affirm abundance in the morning, then worry about bills all afternoon. They declare perfect health, then tell everyone about their symptoms. They state they're divinely protected, then panic at the first sign of trouble. You cannot plant a seed and dig it up every 5 minutes to see if it's growing. The farmer plants in faith and lets the earth do its work. He doesn't stand in the field saying, "I don't see anything yet, this probably won't work. Maybe I should plant somewhere else." Your word is the seed, your faith is the soil, and your patience is what allows the harvest to come. I worked with a woman who was demonstrating a new home. She spoke the word clearly. She saw herself in that home. She thanked God for it. And then, nothing seemed to happen. Weeks went by. She heard about other homes, none of them right. Her family questioned her. Her mind started to whisper, "Maybe you were foolish. Maybe it's not coming." But she had learned the secret. She held steady. She refused to take back her word. She said to me, "I will not contradict what I have spoken. If God said it is done, then it is done, whether I see it yet or not." And here is what I told her, what I tell you now. There is no time in the mind of God. What you have spoken in faith already exists in the invisible realm. It is as real there as the chair you're sitting in. Your only job is to keep the channel open until it manifests in the visible. This isn't about forcing. It's not about straining or pushing the universe. It's about standing firm in your word while you wait for the seen to catch up with the unseen. The woman got her home. Not eventually, not barely. Exactly as she had envisioned it, at exactly the right moment, in a way she could never have orchestrated herself. And this is what most people miss. The demonstration of your word happens in the invisible long before it appears in the visible. By the time that check arrived, by the time that apartment opened up, the entire spiritual machinery had already completed its work. The woman wasn't lucky. She was aligned. She had set a definite cause in motion through her spoken word, and the universe, being law, being principle, had no choice but to produce the corresponding effect. This is why I say your word is your wand. Not because it sounds mystical, but because it functions according to exact spiritual law. You are not begging. You are not hoping. You are time's decreeing asterisk. And a decree, when spoken with faith and expectancy, rearranges the invisible substance of the universe to match the pattern of your word. Now, let me be clear about something that trips people up constantly. Faith is not a feeling. It is not enthusiasm. It is not emotional intensity. Faith is expectancy without anxiety. It is the quiet inner knowing that what you have spoken is already done in the spiritual realm and will manifest in the material realm at the creation, appointed time. You don't need to feel confident. You don't need to manufacture excitement. You simply need to know. And knowing comes from practice, from speaking your word and then standing calmly, watching it come to pass. I once worked with a man who had been unemployed for months. He was terrified. Every bill felt like a threat. Every interview that went nowhere felt like proof that he was worthless. He came to me frantic, asking me to tell him what affirmation to say, what prayer to recite, what technique would finally times work. And I said to him what I'm saying to you now. Stop treating your word like a magic trick. Your word is law. Speak it once with conviction, then let it go. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Once, he said, but I've been saying affirmations for weeks. Yes, I told him. And every time you repeat them desperately, you are affirming the lack, not the fulfillment. You are saying, I don't have this yet, so I must keep begging for it. Instead, I gave him one statement, simple, clear. Infinite intelligence now reveals to me my perfect work, in my perfect way, for my perfect pay. He was to say it once in the morning with full expectancy, and then go about his day as though the job was already secured. 3 days later, he received a call from a company he'd interviewed with months prior, a position he'd completely forgotten about. They'd restructured. They wanted him. The salary was more than he'd even dared to ask for. He sat there, staring at the email, and his first thought wasn't celebration. It was, of course, because I finally stopped choking the life out of this. You see, most people think surrender means you stop wanting things. That's not it at all. Surrender means you stop strangling your desires with your fear. You stop white-knuckling the outcome. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes, like a detective trying to catch your manifestation in the act of not appearing. When you truly surrender, you're saying, I've done my part, I've set the intention, I've held the vision. Now, I trust the universe to deliver this or something better in the perfect timing. And here's what nobody tells you about that or something better part. Sometimes the universe is bringing you exactly what you asked for, but your panic is blocking the delivery truck. Your anxiety is literally standing in the driveway with arms crossed, turning away your own good. I worked with a woman once who was desperate to sell her house. Desperate. She needed to move for a job, and the house had been sitting on the market for months. Every day she'd walk through the rooms, practically begging the walls to attract a buyer. She'd rearrange furniture, light candles, do every ritual and prayer you can imagine. But it was all soaked in fear. Every action was basically her, screaming at the universe, I don't trust you, I don't think this is going to work, I have to force this to happen. I told her, you need to make peace with staying. She looked at me like I'd suggested she set the place on fire. But she did it. She unpacked one box she'd been keeping sealed, just in case. She bought a new plant for the living room. She stopped apologizing to the house for wanting to leave it. 3 days later, she had 2 offers. The universe doesn't respond to your secret wishes. It responds to your public declarations, to the energy you're broadcasting through your actions. When you stop hedging your bets, when you stop keeping one foot in the old reality while hoping for a new one, everything shifts. I've watched this pattern repeat itself across every area of life. The person who keeps their resume updated just in case while claiming to love their job. The one who maintains an active dating profile just to see what's out there while saying they're committed to their partner. The entrepreneur who keeps their backup plan polished and ready while supposedly building their dream. You're divided. Attention creates divided results. You cannot serve 2 masters, as the ancient wisdom tells us. You cannot simultaneously prepare for success and failure. Every action you take is a vote for the reality you're creating, and the universe counts every single vote. Here's what makes this so challenging. We've been taught that keeping backup plans is wisdom, that hedging our bets is intelligence, that protecting ourselves from disappointment is maturity. But this isn't wisdom. It's fear wearing a respectable disguise. It's doubt dressed up as prudence. The person who says, I'm committed to this relationship while keeping their ex's number saved under a fake name isn't being wise. They're being divided. The artist who says, I'm pursuing my creative path while spending their energy maintaining a career they hate isn't being responsible. They're being conflicted. And the universe responds to what you're doing, not what you're saying. True commitment requires vulnerability. It requires the courage to burn your ships, to cut off your retreat, to move forward without a safety net. Yes, this feels terrifying. Yes, it goes against everything you've been taught about being realistic and practical. But here's what I know. The moments of greatest transformation come when you release your grip on the familiar and trust yourself to something new. Every day, you're making these choices. Every day, you're either deepening your commitment or maintaining your escape routes. And the universe is watching, waiting to see what you truly want.